Snoop Dogg will be moved to tears by his teammate, Ralph Edwards' moving performance of Donny Hathaway's A Song for You in next week's playoffs as The Voice is ready to enter its finals. All four coaches gave Edwards a standing ovation after he performed the 1971 soul ballad in an exclusive video of Monday's playoff final, including Reba McEntire, who told fellow coach Niall Horan, "That was good." While the other coaches were singing Edwards' praises, Snoop Dogg took a moment to gather himself before sharing his own. Even Horan, who began the feedback train by exclaiming, "Wow, Wreck-It Ralph back at it again," was in a state of shock following the performance. Horan remarked, "Snoop Dogg is crying over here," while the legendary hip-hop artist used a tissue under his specs to test his eyes. "Dude, after that, I can't even talk. How are you feeling, man, Snoop?" Michael Bublé laughed as he spoke. "I mean, there aren't any bad choices here. Dude, you're the voice, Ralph. You're exactly that." It was now time to hear Snoop's opinion after McEntire said the performance was unbelievable. Snoop remarked, "Oh man, Ralph, you touched me, man. The way you sang that, brought back some memories of special people in my life who are no longer here." He went on, "It's a pleasure to have you on my team, man, to be able to work with you, to call you my brother. Thank you so much, Ralph, I'm really impressed." On The Voice, there are moments that transcend the competition, the lights, or even the music. Time appears to freeze when an artist connects with something so unadulterated and tragically human. We had just that kind of moment last night on Season 28 Knockouts, one that left the entire studio speechless, and, most astonishingly, moved Coach Snoop Dogg to tears. And not the subtle, glossy-eyed type. In an exclusive video that has already gone viral, the cameras captured complete, unmistakable emotion. Why? Ralph Edwards was a front-runner whose incredibly moving performance of Donny Hathaway's A Song for You not only displayed vocal prowess but also warmed everyone's hearts. This performance, which is arguably one of the most poignant moments in The Voice's history, will be the talk of the season. A monumental voice, a quiet contestant, Ralph Edwards had been a consistent fan favorite up until last night. Not because he was the loudest, flashiest, or most spectacular competitor, but rather because he exuded a calm passion. Ralph, a former Atlanta church musician, has established a reputation for kindness, compassion, and unexpectedly strong vocals on the show. Showing off was not his style as an artist. Fans trusted his voice, which he used to talk for himself instead. Even they, however, were unprepared for the way he would change A Song for You, one of the most emotionally and vocally taxing compositions ever composed. The studio became silent as he took the stage for the knockouts. Only Ralph, a single spotlight, and a microphone. No extravagant staging, pyro, or chorus. From the first note, it was clear that something extraordinary was taking place. The coaches leaning forward after hearing that first note, the atmosphere changed as soon as Ralph spoke. He had all the pain of Hathaway's original song, but his personal experience was absorbed into his tone, which was buttery yet bruised, smooth yet cracking in the right places. John Legend raised his eyebrows. A hand was placed to Kelsey Ballerini's heart. Michael Bublé said something that sounded a lot like "wow" in a whisper. Snoop Dogg, on the other hand, was already leaning forward with his elbows on his knees, and his eyes locked on the stage with a level of concentration typically associated with championship moments. It was more akin to Ralph opening a journal he had kept locked for years than it was to a performance. Snoop Dogg's relationship with the song, the audience was unaware at the time, and Snoop would later reveal that A Song for You has a very special place in his heart. When he was little, his mother would play it for him because it was one of her favorite songs. He rarely listened to the music again after she passed away since it brought up so many memories of her. Snoop's whole expression altered as Ralph said, "I love you in a place where there's no space or time." He couldn't resist the surge of emotion that swept over him, no matter how hard he tried. It's evident in the exclusive clip. His eyes blink quickly, his lips clench, and then he drops his head, while tears stream down his cheeks. The throng was still in the dark. The other coaches were still in the dark. Ralph's voice had reached a level that he seldom lets the world hear, but Snoop did. The act that seemed to be a prayer. Ralph's arrangement of the song was brilliant despite being simple. He chose to build slowly instead of shouting his way through the conclusion, as many vocalists do. He restrained himself, allowing each line to register. He conveyed in his voice the softness of love, the weight of sorrow, the fragility of confession, and, at the conclusion, a burst of emotion that was like a release. He was just as adept at using silence as sound. His breath spoke for him. He allowed pauses to hurt. There was not a single dry eye in the building when he reached the last verse and muttered, "I know my life is better 'cause you're my friend." On the sidelines, even Carson Daly had hazy eyes. It was one of those rare enchanted performances that was soul-bendingly honest but not flawless. The second the cameras returned to Snoop, a standing ovation broke out in the room immediately as Ralph held his last note. Every coach was on their feet, applauding, yelling his name, and cheering. Snoop Dogg, however, did not immediately rise up. Rather, he remained sitting and used a shaking palm to wipe tears from his face. The whole studio softened when he eventually stood up, for they realized that something more profound had happened. As a coach, he was not the only one moved. As a man, a son, and a human, he was moved. Snoop Dogg's heartfelt admission. Snoop, who was still obviously upset, took a big breath when it was time for feedback. Everyone was shocked by what he said. "Ralph, my mother's favorite song was just sung by you. I didn't anticipate that. How did you sing it? You took me to a place I haven't been to in a long time, man. Tonight, you helped me mend something." The audience let out a gasp. Snoop, a cultural icon, hip-hop great, and generally cool guy, doesn't often open up like that on national television. "Thank you," he continued, his voice breaking. "I required that. Thank you for letting me sing it," Ralph said quietly, seeming overwhelmed. One of the most impactful exchanges in The Voice's history, despite its simplicity. John Legend's coach's reaction. John appreciated Ralph's composure and his readiness to serve the song instead of dominating it, pointing out that the final was explosive because of the emotional restraint in the beginning. Ballerini, Kelsey. Ralph had the rare gift of turning a classic into a mirror, letting everyone see themselves in the story. According to Kelsey, who described it as a spiritual experience. Bublé, Michael. Ralph's tone, according to Bublé, reminded him of Hathaway, but also had a modern ache that could instantly propel him to the top of the charts. But it was Snoop's response that everyone will remember, since that was not a critique. It was not coach jargon. It was unadulterated appreciation. The unique video goes viral. The Voice's exclusive clip went viral on the internet just minutes after it was released. Hashtag Snoop crying started to gain popularity all around the world. Heart emojis and anecdotes about their personal emotional ties to the song were posted in the comments by fans. Within hours, reaction videos started to surface. Ralph's performance was described as a beautiful reminder of the power of soul music by Donny Hathaway's estate, which even uploaded the video. "I feel like my soul just got a hug," a fan said, adding, "I didn't know I needed to see Snoop Dogg cry over a song." Ralph Edwards just secured the finale, stated another. Without a doubt, and truthfully, they may not be incorrect. Ralph Edwards, the season's new face. Ralph is the front runner after last night, not just a competitor. Not because he produced vocal fireworks or struck the highest notes, but rather because he accomplished something more remarkable. He made a connection. Long after the season is over, people will watch, talk about, cry over, and remember the moment he created. According to reports, producers hurried backstage after recognizing that they had just caught a voice moment comparable to Chris Blue's Superstition or Jordan Smith's Chandelier. Some even hinted that this would be the season's pivotal moment in terms of emotion. Snoop's ultimate choice. No need for suspense. The audience held their breath as Snoop announced the knockout winner, but only for ceremonial reasons. Everyone was aware of what was about to happen. "Ralph, I'm riding with you," Snoop stated after glancing at the two competitors and taking a deep breath. "Today, you touched my spirit." The audience let out screams. Ralph put his hands over his lips in shock. Because no one can dispute when music hits like that, even the other contender nodded sympathetically. The stage is now set for one of the season's most anticipated performances as Ralph made it to the live playoffs. What takes place next? Fans are already anticipating Ralph's next song. With this amount of momentum, producers might guide him toward a final narrative, even if he has demonstrated that his best work is in emotive, soulful ballads. According to rumors, Snoop plans to give Ralph at least one gospel-inspired arrangement in the next round, drawing on his background in the church. According to another insider, Ralph is prepared to play an original song if he advances to the finals. Ralph Edwards is no longer merely a competitor, though. Season 28 revolves around him. An iconic performance. You are entertained by certain performances. You are impressed by some. However, very few alter you. A Song for You by Ralph perfectly fits within that last group. He provided us with truth and silence in a noisy world. He provided us with connectivity in a competitive show. And he gave us a moment that reminded everyone, including Snoop Dogg, why music is important in a season full of talent.